Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing another Unit 4 paper, which is the 2021 June paper. So we have discussed the format of a Unit 4 paper. It is in the playlist of A to Unit 4. So they have the instructions. These instructions will be the same for all the papers. And this is the scenario for this paper. So you can pause and read it out. And here we have the questions. All right. So first question, it tells us the venue table in this quiz database needs to be improved. So as always, they have given us the MS Access data file, database file with a table. So these first few questions, these three questions are practically validations. All right. So back to the question. A venue record should only save if a telephone number is present and in the correct format. So there is a format check. The validate the telephone number field so that the telephone number must be present and in the correct format. So there's two, which is presence check and format check, and you have to take a screen print in design view. All right. So if I go to my database, this is the table that they have given me. And this is the telephone field. So if I go to design view, I can select telephone. I'll first set the presence check, which is I'll put a validation rule as is not null, and validation text as the telephone number must be present. Also, so this is one way of doing the presence check, but you can also put required yes. But there is an issue. Sometimes the examiner, they expect us to put to have a validation and a response as in like, so when we enter the record, and if we haven't put a telephone number, it should show back a message saying that this message that we've put, the telephone number must be present. So without a validation rule, and if we only put the required yes condition, we cannot give it a message. So sometimes they might cut marks for that. So I suggest you to go with the validation rule and not this method. All right, so next we have format. In that case, I can put an input mask. We did talk about input masks in the previous videos. So compulsory number is represented by a 0, and I can put 10 zeros in that case. Like that. If you want, you can change the field size. Anything as such is also fine, but I prefer input mask. So when you save your changes, it will give you this message. I suggest you to go no, because I think it will take a lot of time. Also, make sure to take your screenshots. In the previous video, I showed you how to take the screenshots, what you need to include in your screenshots, and so on. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Set up a list check on the quiz day field so that only the days of the week are accepted. So quiz day field is this one. And if I go, so how we do a list check is we go to lookup. If it says text box, we go to the drop down here and put combo box. And in the row source, we should type the 7 days of the week, which is Monday. It's not a comma, it's a semicolon. Tuesday, semicolon. Wednesday, semicolon. Thursday, semicolon, Friday, semicolon, Saturday, semicolon, and finally Sunday. After you type all the data in your list, make sure there's no spelling errors. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then we save it. And then you take your screenshot, attach it to the evidence tablet. Now let's move on to the next question. There is one error in the use of the data types in this table. Identify and correct the error. So for this, we'll go back to data sheet view. Venue ID is a number, venue address, short text, postcode is also short text. Short text, and then contact telephone is also a short text. Wheelchair access, it says -1 and 0. So for all the 16 records, they only have either -1 or 0. So in a previous video, I explained that this can be considered as a yes/no field. So we go back to our design view, wheelchair access. So by the drop down, I'll change it to a yes/no field. Save it. And yes, I want to continue. So here you can see that it has been changed. So the tick is a yes, and if it's a blank box, it means a no. All right. So we're done with the validations, and here comes an important part. So Veronica needs a form to edit data about an existing venue. This means that she is not going to enter a new venue, not a new record. She wants to refer to a record that is already existing and change the data. So for example, it could be something like the contact telephone number must have changed of the venue ID with 7. If the telephone has changed, she just needs to update the record. She doesn't have to add a new record. So that is kind of different from a data entry, slightly different from data entry forms. All right. So I'll go to create. I'll go to, before creating the form, I'd like to create 2 queries. First query is the query that has all the fields. So I'll select all the fields in that table. I'll add it here, just like that, and I'll save it. I'll save it as query 1. It's fine with me. And then I'll make another query. Create query design. In this case, I will be only adding the 1 field. So if we read the question, it says allow Veronica to select the address of a venue. If you're not familiar with the question, I suggest you pause the video and first read the question. So for the first bullet point, allow Veronica to select the address of a venue. So when she wants to edit the record, she should be able to select it from a combo box. So as in there will be a drop-down list. She can select that specific record using the address of the venue and then edit the other data of that record. So when she selects it, the other data will be appearing on those fields in the form. So if you didn't understand it, as we do it, you will be able to understand. So she wants to select it based on the venue address. So for that, I'll be using a combo box. And for the combo box, I have to extract data. So the data is the venue address. And so I'm only going to put venue address here. I'm going to save it as query 2. So we've made the 2 queries. Query 1 with all the fields that are shown in the venue table. And then query 2 is only the venue address, which is going to come as the combo box in the form. Okay, so now I'll close the table as well, and I'll go to create form wizard. And when creating the form, you base your form on query 1, the query that has all your records, all the fields, and then you select all the fields because you want to show all of them in your form. Next, and then title, you should put an appropriate title, edit venue details. All right, and this is what we get. Currently, this is not a data entry form. So here, if you can see that it says 1 out of 16. So initially, the table venue also has 16 records. So this has all the information about all 16 records, and this is not what we want. What we want is, so here venue address, will be changing this to a combo box. So initially, when you open that edit form, it will be fully blank. But when we go to venue address, it will be a drop-down list, and we can select one of the 16 venues. And when we select it, all the other data will be filled in accordingly. So now I'll go to design view of this form. So also keep in mind, in a form, it's not just about the functionality of the form, but they also do check about the design. So for example, venue address, postcode, or contact telephone does not need this big boxes to fill in. So you should make these smaller, but I prefer to do the adjusting at the end so that we don't lose time. So first of all, let's change this venue address to a combo box. So I got the property sheet. I'll change this to a combo box. And then go to data. So in the property sheet, under the data tab, it initially has said in the control source venue address. Erase all of that. Erase that. And then in row source, you link it to the query that has the venue address, which, so in my case, that will be query 2, like that, right? So after you do this, so you save that change, right? You save it. Now I'll go to my query 1. So initially my form was made based on this query. So now I'll go to the design view of the query. So the combo box is the venue address. I am linking it here. So how you're going to link it is, this will be kind of long. So we have to mention, so we're linking it under criteria. So first we have to mention that we're linking it to a form. So put square brackets and type forms, and then exclamation mark, again square brackets, your form name. So in this access normally shows you what is there already, and you can select, again exclamation, and then you can select your field name. So in this case, it's venue address. It's not label, it's just venue address. And here it has shown us that it's a combo box. So perfect. And that's it. So this is how you link it to query 1. So this is the reason why I used 2 different queries instead of making it based on table venue. If I had done it using the original table, I won't be able to link it like this. All right, so hope you guys can see it clearly. So it specifies that it's a form because we have other objects in a database. It can be reports, it can, so anything like that. So in the case, we first specify that it's a form, and then we specify what form it is, because a database can have more than one form, and then we specify the field. All right, so we save that, we'll close it. So after that, you have to go to event field, event tab in the property sheet of the same combo box. After update, so after update means when a person uses the combo box and selects one venue out of the 16. After selecting, so we have to do requery. That's it. So you save and close. Here it will show as embedded macro. So after update, requery. Requery is the process of showing the other information related to that specific record according to the venue. All right, so that's it when creating the edit form, but there are some other requirements that they want us to do. So if you go back to the paper, it says update the form to show all the data in the record for the venue selected, not allow Veronica to edit the venue ID, but allow her to edit any of the other data, include a close button. Okay, so first of all, let's make this venue ID disabled. So here, venue ID data, and it says enabled yes, make it a no. So she can't change that, and she wanted a close button. The close button was include a close button. It does not need to close the form. When Veronica clicks the close button, display a message if the data has been edited to let Veronica know it has not been saved. All right. So at the beginning of this question, I said that they also focus on the design. So in that case, we can make changes like this. So I'll bring this to the center, and then this can be like that. And then change the size of these. So the size can be changed based on the, so initially if you have no idea about the size of these, go to the table, see the length of the data, and then you can edit this. So contact telephone, it only has 10 characters. It's obviously not this long. And then, yeah, so after you do that, you can bring them closer. Like that. Yeah, and then you can also add instructions. So I'll move all this a bit down, and then I can put a label saying please enter so this is not a data entry form, so I should say please edit the venue details by selecting the venue using the venue address. The venue ID cannot be changed. So you can even put alignments like center align. I prefer center aligning stuff. Can bring this a bit more down. And also if you want, you can like select all, and if you want to change the text color, The text color is mentioned as 4 color. I prefer solid black, so like that. So now if we go to data sheet view, when I select one, it shows me all the other relevant data based on what I select. So that's how you make an edit form. So that's question 1B. Let's move on to the next question. So the next one is the 9-mark writing question. I'll skip that for now. And 1D is the exporting question, where they have given us the external data file. So Veronica currently uses a spreadsheet. They have given us a spreadsheet. And quiz record is an extract of the spreadsheet. Develop the quiz database to add this functionality. You must create an efficient data structure that minimizes data duplication, uses correct data types and primary keys, and enforces referential integrity. Right. So I'll go back to my database. I'll close this. And so that it's a data file that does not exist within the database. So it's an external data, and then it's an Excel file. So I'll use Excel, and using this, I can browse for the data file. So I got my external data file after browsing, and then, so this is what I get. First row contains column headings. Yes. Next. So in this case, you can like select individual fields and then change the data type, but I personally don't like that. You can do it, but I prefer opening the table and changing it there. So there's no primary key, and I would like to name this as imported data. Okay, so this is the table. There are 80 rows. So based on this table, we can figure out how many tables we have to create, how many parent tables and child tables. So take a minute, pause this video, take a minute and try to figure it out on your own. All right. So now if you look at this, we have quiz ID, quiz setter ID, quiz setter last name, quiz setter first name, setter email, quiz type, venue ID, number of players, number of teams, quiz type ID, and quiz week beginning date. Okay, so if in the very beginning of the video, I told you to take a minute to read the case study. So without reading that, you cannot do this question, right? So venue ID, that they had given us a table. So venue ID, the venue table already exists, so we don't have to worry about that. So in this case, I can see we have quiz type ID and quiz type. So if we look at each record, so we can see that number quiz type ID 4 means sport. And if you look at the other rows which have 4, it says sport. So there has been data duplication here, which means that we have to create a new table called quiz type. So it will be table quiz type. And it will only have 2 fields, which is quiz type ID and quiz type. Right? And then we can make another table for the setter. So it will be table setter. And that person Does that person have an ID? Well, we have, yes, we have quiz setter ID, setter last name, setter first name, setter email. And those are the things that are unique for that one person. So those four, which is ID, last name, first name, and email, they will be taken to another table called table setter. And then, so those are the two parent tables, the quiz type table and the setter table. And the third table is a child table, which will have the quiz ID, setter ID, venue ID, number of players, number of teams, quiz type ID, and quiz week beginning date. Okay, that was a whole lot to picture in your mind. So now let's do it. How do we do it? I'll first copy the imported data table, and then I'll paste it. And I prefer to only take the structure instead of the data. And now, first of all, we'll make the two parent tables, which is quiz type. So I'll put table quiz type. Okay. Now I'll go to table quiz type. So because we only took the structure, we get the table, the field names, but not the data in the fields. I'll go to design view. And so in quiz type, we only had the quiz type ID and the quiz type. So I'll select these records, delete them. Quiz type, and then I'll delete these. Quiz type ID and delete. Okay. So in this case, we have to give them a primary key as well. So quiz type ID is obviously the primary key. I'll name that as primary key. And then, oh, I actually forgot. I couldn't change the data types. So I'll change this to a number because I remember there was a number for almost all the IDs. So I'll go back to the imported data and I'll change the types. So quiz ID, quiz setter ID, venue ID, number of players. So these four and these two fields are numbers, and the last field is a date. Okay. Those two are already numbers. So here I have to change from venue ID, these four, as numbers. So I'll change that. This will make things easier because I'll be copying this table a few times to make the structures of my other tables. So having the same data type can help me a lot, especially when it comes to making relationships. All right. So quiz type table, that's done. And then I'm making my second table. So I'm copying the imported data table again and pasting it. Structure only, and this time it is table setter. Okay. And then I have the fields, no data. I'll go to design view. And as you can see, just like I changed in the imported data file, this has also been changed. So I don't need quiz ID. So I'm only taking the fields that are unique for the setter. Quiz setter ID, I need that. Setter last name, first name, email. I need all of that. I don't need the rest. All right, so again, quiz setter ID is the primary key, and I'll mark that as the primary key. Right, so that's the two parent tables. And now I have to create the child table, which is the quiz table, which has all the information about who's setting it, where it's set, the dates, number of players, number of teams, etc. So I'll copy imported data again. structure only and name it as table quiz. Also remember, tables cannot have plural, like the table name cannot be plural, as in table setters or table quiz types or table quizzes. It should be singular. So table setter, likewise. All right, so I'll go to the child table that I made. Design view. I need quiz ID, and that will be my primary key for the table. I need setter ID. I do not need setter's last name. I don't need first name. I don't need email. I don't need the quiz type because I do have the quiz type ID. I need venue ID. I need number of players, number of teams, and yeah. Those are the information for that. Save it, and also make sure to take your screenshots properly. And close. And now, so now we've made the tables, we have to make the relationship between the tables. So I'll go to database tools, relationships. So they have already given us all 4 tables. Okay, so I'll drag these according to their sizes so that I can see the field names clearly. Okay. So what, the table that has most of the relationships, keep it in the center so that everything can be connected nicely to the center. So in this case, you must have realized table quiz has a lot of foreign keys. So I'll keep these like this. Looks nice. Okay. So quiz ID is the primary key, no problem. And then we have venue ID, so that comes from here, like that. Make sure both of these have the same name, then enforce, tick all 3, and create. Okay, and then we have quiz setter ID, which is this. Drag and drop. See if both are the same. Tick all 3 checkboxes. Create. And always remember, all of these relations are simply one-to-many. You don't have to worry about that because it can't be one-to-one. One-to-one simply means that one record relates to one record of one table relates to one record of another table. So you won't need a one-to-one relationship. You can just simply put that field in the same table because it's one-to-one. And many-to-many records, this is how it's dealt with. We did discuss about relationships in a previous video. You can check the channel for that. And then we have quiz type ID. Again, drag and drop. See if both have the same name, then tick the boxes and create. That is basically it. Right. So close this. And yes, I do want to save. So make sure you take a screenshot of that relationship as well when you put it to your candidate template. And now let's move on to the next part of the question, which is importing data. So we only have the structure of the tables with the relationships, and now is the time to import that data. Okay. So I'll go back to the table. So we created 3 tables, right? Which is these 3: quiz table, quiz type table, and setter table. So I also mentioned that the setter table and the quiz type table are the parent tables, and the quiz table is the child table. So first of all, we have to send the data to parent tables and afterwards to the quiz table or the child table. So I'll create a query for that, query design. We did do this in the previous question as well, in the previous paper discussion as well. So see if you guys can remember. I have to select only one table, and that is a table that I'll be that table is the one that has the data, not just the structure. So that is the imported data table. I'll add that table and close it. That's all. And then I have to change this query to an append query, which is up here. Append. So first of all, I'll take a quiz type table. So I can select it from the drop down, quiz type. Okay. And then in quiz type, we only had two fields, which is quiz type ID and quiz type. So quiz type ID and quiz type. All right. So now you save the query. I personally prefer to put a query name for such ones with a proper name. Append to table quiz type. So when I actually execute these queries, I can figure out the order of the queries when I read their names. Okay. So I'll close it. I first of all suggest you to make all three append queries and then run them in the order, as in first parent tables and then child table. Create. So now let's create for the second parent table, which is the table setter. I'll add this table. So there were 4 fields in the setter, which was quiz setter ID, setter last name, setter first name, and setter email. I'll change this to append query. Append to table setter. Now save this as append to table setter. Okay. One more to go. That is for the last child table, which is table quiz. Query design, and then append to table quiz, and then there we had quiz ID. If you don't remember what the fields were, you can simply go to the table. And so here I can see quiz setter ID, venue ID. Number of players, okay, and the rest of the flow. All right. So I'll save that as append to table quiz. All right, so I'll close everything, and now I'll run one query at a time. So first I'll do table quiz type. Yes, yes, yes. And then I'll do append to table setter. Yes, yes, yes. And then append to table quiz, which is our child table. All right. So in this case, the table quiz, the child table in any question, it always has the initial number of records. So in the imported data table, we have 80 records. You can see that there are 80 records here. So in that case, our table quiz table should also have 80 records. So if I open the tables now, table setter, it has 11 records, okay, and table quiz type has 6 records. It should be correct because it's less than 80 records and there's less data redundancy now. And if you open table quiz, we have 80 records and that's what we wanted. So we know that we have done it properly and our relationships are correct. Because if you get this wrong, you cannot move forward with the question at all. Okay. So now that's done. And in your table, it tells you how to take the screenshots. You should show at least 5 records. And I've mentioned in the previous video how you should take your screenshot, how you show the record number, and so on. Okay, so now let's move on to the second question. Veronica wants to know the number of quizzes each quiz setter has run. Create a query that calculates the number of quizzes each quiz setter has run. Display only the full name of the quiz setter and the number of quizzes they have run. Okay, so in that case, we have to create a query with a calculation. Query, I don't think calculation, but yes, it's a query definitely. So she wants to know how many quizzes each quiz setter has run. So in our quiz setter table, we can see that there are 11 quiz setters. So I'll go to create query design. So for that case, I will have to use the table quiz and table setter. And it also says that she wants the full name of the setter, right? And so first of all, I'll put, so there's no field as like full name of the setter. I'll have to create it, and let me show you how. So it takes space. So I'll first put setter full name and then colon. Then I'll put square brackets because I'm referring to a field which is setter first name plus, and then double quotes, within double quotes you put a space, again plus, and square brackets setter last name. And that's how you make the full name of the setter, right? So if I run this query, I can see their full name. So the double quotes within the space, that's why the two names have been separated with a space. If not, they'll just be together. So yeah, that's that. And you can see that there are like repetitions of the name. So to reduce to like not repeat the names, I can use totals and it automatically gives me group by. So when I go to the table, now there's only 11. You can see that there's 11 records. Now there's 11 and that's what we want. So that's the full name of the setter. And now we want to see how many quizzes they have conducted. So because this is related to this one, I can simply take quiz ID and then not a group by, but a count. Now that gives me, because, so quiz setter ID, it's a one-to-many relationship, which means that quiz setter will be repeating in these records. So that's why initially we didn't just get 11 records, but we saw that all the names were repeated. So that repeated number of times showed us how many quizzes that one setter has done. So for example, if the person with ID number 1, his name was repeated 7 times in the initial query, in the first time I showed you guys, if the name was repeated 7 times, that means that that person has conducted 7 quizzes. So because we put a group by, it will just show us one of each person's name. And then quiz ID, using quiz ID, I can count how many, count will give us the number of times his name had been used in multiple times. So count will give us the number of times he has conducted the quiz. So when I run, I can see, so this is count of quiz ID, but I do not prefer that as the field name. So I can go back here and I'll put a colon, and then before the colon, I can put number of quizzes conducted. Save that. I'll save it as query 2A. And then I'll run it. Now you can see the field names have also been changed. So 2A is also done. Was there anything else? Oh, the result should be displayed in order of highest number of quizzes run by the setter to the lowest. So we'll go back to our query design view. And here, so it says highest to lowest, which means it's descending. I'll put it like that. So when I go back, it has from highest to lowest. Make sure you take your screenshots at this point. So let's move on to the next question, which is part B. Veronica would like to know the income that has been generated by the venue. They have given us two specific venues, so it's 23 Grove Way and 114 Albert Avenue. All right, so it also has given us criteria. So the entry fee per player is £2. If there are more than 30 players, it is reduced to £1.5 for each player. So here they have given us what it should look like. So create a query that will extract and use appropriate data from the database. Okay. So you should look at this design and figure out the data types that you will be needing. So obviously you will need the venue. So this is the week beginning date. This is number of players. And these two fields must be taken based on expressions and calculations. Okay. So now let's go back to our database. So we have to create the query for that report. So we will need table venue. We will need table quiz. As far as I remember, that was all we needed. If we need, we can anytime drag tables like that, but we don't need it now. Okay. So we needed venue address because they had given us two specific venue addresses to look into. Then we needed week beginning and number of players. So this is quiz week beginning and number of players. All right. So now if I add the criteria that they wanted, so they only wanted 23. So under venue address, they had given me two venues, which was 23 Grove Way and 114 Albert Avenue. So I'll just copy those two. And here under criteria, it shouldn't be an and, it should be or. And then I just click somewhere else, it automatically gives the double quotes. So I don't have to worry about that. And then they had also told us that they are taking an entry fee for from the players. It had given a criteria that if it's more than 30, it's 1.5, but if it's less than 30, it's 2. This statement. So for that, I will be needing an expression. So to find out, so we have taken number of players and we do need to show that. Again, I'll be taking number of players, but this time it's not just number of players. I'll be putting an if condition to see if they have more than 30 or not. So number of players, in front of number of players, I'll put a colon. So I'll name it as entry fee. So I said that I'll put a if condition. So that will be not just if, but it should be double if. Double if, and then you open brackets, close brackets. Okay. So if number of players, I put square brackets because it's a field name. If number of players is greater than 30, comma, so if number of players is greater than 30, it is 1.5, right? So 1.5. Again, comma, if it's not greater than 30, it's 2. So first of all, you put the criteria, then you put a comma. After that, you put it if yes, what should be the result, and then a comma. And the second, after the second comma, it is if result no, the result. So I hope you guys understood what I said. So that's the entry fee. I'll save that as query to be 1. Okay. So if I run this query, now this gives me the entry fee of each player. So this is not the revenue. To calculate the revenue, that will be number of players into entry fee. I'll go back to the design view. So that will be in the question paper that is called income. So here I'll put income and then colon. And then that will be players into entry fee. And I'm putting the brackets, the square brackets. So now this gives me the revenue as well. So you can double check 20 into 2 is 40, 23 into 2 is 46. So it should be correct. So now we have created the query, and do make sure to take screenshots the way they ask you to. So now I'll close this, and I think the next question is to create the database, the report. It says Veronica wants to print the standard report. She will use the report format shown in figure 1. Use your query from question 2B want to extract data. Yes, it is to create a report based on based on the query that we just made. All right, so now I'll create report wizard. I'll create the report using report wizard. So make sure you select your query properly. So that was query to be 1. I'll take all next, and so this is where you make the criteria. So initially from table venue. Yeah, that's right. And then you can put grouping levels here. It has already given me a grouping level, so I'll stick to that. What title do you want for your report? I'll put it as they had given a title. But now I'll just put question to be 2. Okay, finish. So this is the preview of the report and it looks terrible actually. So I'll close print preview, I'll go back here. So in their design, they had given the table report name as venue income. Make it center. And then before I do anything, I prefer, so when you go to report view here, you can see that there are, for the alternate lines, they have put, background colors. I personally don't like that. So under format, you can select each section and see if there are alternate row colors. I put it to no color. All right, so when that's done, now, so in their design, they hadn't given the time, date, or the page, so I'll remove those as well. All right, and then when we go to our paper, in their design, we can see that we have to calculate the total income for each venue and then overall income, which is the income of both venues. So in that case, we do need a footer. We will need 2 footers actually. One footer will be for the venue address header, and then so we have the page footer already. We want the venue address footer. So I'll sorting and grouping, and here under more we have, it says without a footer, so put the drop down and change it to with a footer section, and that will give you the footer section. Okay, close this. And so initially it has given all these in the page header, but it actually shouldn't be in the page header. So if you guys remember, no, I'll just show. So venue income, and then we have venue total income, and then these ones, right? So venue income will be in the report header. We won't be putting anything in the page header because there's nothing that we want to be repeated in all the pages, but we do need to have records in the venue address header. So first of all, let's put everything under venue address header. So I'll make this longer. It has to look something like this. So I'll change this to venue because that's what they've given. And also I'll change the alignment of it to center. Right, and then these field names should also come here. So because they are repeating after every single venue address, but not for every single page, I'll take them there. And then you can see that they are not clearly, like the whole name is not being seen, so I can edit. And now inside each, you should change these, like remove the underscore, put proper spacing, then capitalize the first words, the first letter of the words. right? And then here we have, I think, number of players. Yeah. Then we have entry fee. Then we have income. Okay. Okay, so with what we have so far, if we look at the report view, this is what it looks like. So you can see the data is not aligned, so I have to change the positions. You can see how the venue name are being repeated. Okay, and now we go back to design view. I'll bring this here. Entry fee, I'll make this smaller because it's either 1.5 or 2, so it's going to be a small value. Income is also maximum 4 digits, so I'll make it small like that. And now that looks better. Okay, and you can change the alignments, as in make it left align, center align, whatsoever. I prefer doing alignments. I prefer having everything like center aligned, like that. Yeah, that looks way better to me. These can be small changes. You guys might think this is not very necessary, but you get marks for your design, so might as well spend some extra time to get your design right. I want to change the design for the field names. Like, it's a heading, so I change the font size to a 12. I'll change the font fit from normal to a bold. Now, when you do those changes, you can see again the field names, they have been hidden. So you have to adjust the labels. Okay. Okay. Yeah, like that. So when you go back to your report view, you can see the headings. It's nice. And then obviously this is like the bigger heading. So I'll change that to a 14 and italic maybe. Yeah. Um, but I feel like in our question paper, they've just made it bold. So maybe I won't put italic, but I'll put it to a bold. Okay. And right, so we do have to do another calculation though, because um it just shows us the data, but it doesn't give us the total income, and it has to give us the overall income. So I added the venue address header after I removed the alternate row color thing. So under format in the venue address footer, I'll remove the color. Okay. So now in the venue address footer, I'll put not a label, a text box. So when you put a text box, it automatically gives you a label as well. So this would be total income. Okay. And then this is a calculation. So it equals sum, open brackets, and then you're going to refer to income. So that's a field, put square brackets, income. Okay. So I'll go to report view. So this gives us the total of this. Alrighty. And then I have to put the overall income, so which is the addition of both incomes of both the venues. Before I forget, I will put text align. Okay. Home. I personally prefer left align when it comes to numbers because they're mostly right aligned automatically. Okay. So when I'm putting the overall total income, I'm going to put it under report footer, not page footer, because then it will be based on the page, not the full report. So in the report footer, again, I'll go to design. Did the same thing that I did for the total income. So this will be equals sum income. This will be overall income. Okay, this is what it looks like. And you can see that they have given the overall income at 625. I mean, if you look at it, 366 plus 288, it does sound something like 625. So should be correct. And yeah, so this is your report. You can get confused with how to decide which header, which footer, which one should have the details and whatnot. So first of all, you identify your labels and the text boxes. So this is the label and this is the text box. So label, it's like a text field. You can change the name of the label. You can do anything to the label, but you can't do anything to the text boxes because text boxes are the ones that carry the data of the query. So in this case, if I open the query again, so this venue address is equals to the venue addresses, so the two venue addresses. And then, so the ones that I changed formatting, like quiz week, beginning date, those are just labels. You can do anything to them, but do not do anything to these. Do not change these because this is equals to this date. And if you change that, you cannot refer to your data and your report will not basically show any data, right? So that's that. And so how I decided to put total income under venue address is because total income is being calculated for each venue. So therefore, under venue footer, I will put that. And then for overall income, overall means the whole, like the sum of all the incomes of all the venues. So it's not just the venues of each page, but the venues of the whole report. So that will come under report footer. If you did not understand, just redo the questions. And maybe, you know what, even if the page footer doesn't work, if you put the overall income in page footer, it actually gives you an error message. You can try this, like put it in page footer, try to understand what happens, because that's the way I personally learned and I prefer that method. I recommend that method to anybody. Just make the same report over and over again, experiment with it. It can sometimes be a headache just to do the same report and not get the design the design that you expect to receive. It can be frustrating, but at the end, when you actually understand what you're doing and how the reports work, how the headers and footers work, how the sums, the calculations, expressions, you just figure that out in your head. That feels like a huge accomplishment, and that's a lot of genuine joy. And I say this because I've been there. So, if you do not understand, I suggest you do that. And yeah, you will be a pro at reports than anyone else, because you have gone through all those things that can go wrong. And now that you know it can go, the possible ways of getting a report wrong, you will never do that again. Okay, so that is the report. This is what it finally looks like. You can give it a few finishing touches, like maybe putting a rectangle around each venue so that you can, like, either like separately see the figures, or you can put like horizontal lines to separate the things. That's up to you, totally up to you. There's no harm in doing that, actually. Okay, so we're done with the report. So the query has 5 marks, the report has 9 marks. That's 14 marks, 14 out of 80. That's a lot. Okay, so we're done with the second question. And next we have the third question. So that there also we have to create a query, and then based on the query we have to create a chart. And then we have the fourth question, which is a dashboard. So the dashboard is one. So in this case, you can see provide buttons to open data edit form, run query, display a message. So there are 3 buttons. So dashboard is where they will give you a few buttons to create, and when the user clicks on each button, it will open to a query, maybe a report, maybe a form. So they will give you that, and using macro or VBA, you can link them. So when they click on the button, it will open that specific database object. So as I said, you can use either VBA or macro, but I personally use macro for that because I find it way simpler. They give us the function, it's an inbuilt function, they give us it in a drop down. I find it very convenient. But if you prefer VBA, just go ahead with that. That's totally up to you. And obviously make sure you take your screenshots with those macros or VBA. And then also, so for each button, like for example, you can use both VBA and macro. So for the first button, you can use a macro. For the second button, you can use a VBA. That's totally fine. And then for the fifth question, we have a 9 marker. That's a theory question. So how you can use presence check, range check. So these are the validations. Veronica knows that the database should use validation to reduce data input errors. These types of validations could be used in a database. So referring to, it's great if you can refer to all 6 of them, but most importantly, what you should focus is on, in each validation type, you can, so first of all, you should say what presence check is, what it does, how it can be applied, the validation rule is not null, blah, blah, blah. So, your analysis point is the most important in that case. So we discussed 2 complete questions today, 1 and 2, in this video. So in the next video, I'll be discussing 3, 4, and 5. So thank you for watching, and hope you had a great time, and hope you learned something, and make sure to do past papers. See you.